And it is 5:30. Okay, today is Wednesday, March the 27th, 2024. It's 5:30. This is the Ad Hoc Water Committee that was created by our mayor and the county commission. Um, Everybody has an agenda in front of them. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion from Mr. Hirschman,
I second it.
second by Mr. Jimmy Hollingsworth. Any discussion? All those in favor by aye?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. You taking notes from me?
I will,
Good man. All right.
temporarily.
The roll, everybody signed the roll. Everybody is here but Joey Hobbs and Mr. Nipper. Don't have anybody in the public except John. You have any public comments? No public comments, okay. The first thing on the agenda is the appoint or I guess it would be an elected chair and a secretary. And Terry even said we need to have a vice chair, which might be a good idea, or if one of us is not here. So if that's okay, we can amend the agenda to A, B, and C. And have a vice chair, a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. And since Terry, you did that, would that be all right with you?
What's that?
The agenda?
Yeah.
Okay. Jimmy, you all right with that?
I mean,
Okay. All right, so we'll open up the floor or open up the table for a nomination for the chairman.
Mayor, would you like to go over the role, what the chairman would be responsible for, what he needs to do, and
Well, obviously run the meetings like Tim started tonight. Keep in mind, this will probably be a fairly aggressive committee. I'm envisioning, the committee may think otherwise, probably 2 meetings a month. Maybe some trips to some different places. I've traveled around quite a bit, looked at some other counties, other cities, and what they're doing to solve some of their problems, and I think it's good maybe to go see some of those. I also think we want to compel several people to come here. Talked to several local utility providers today, and they're all willing to come if we bring them. Of course, we have 4 water providers in this county. We've got 2 folks that run sewers, 2 cities. Probably want to hear from all of them. Step systems, drip systems, cost analysis, feasibilities. Eventually, we want to get some kind of white paper and recommendations to the commission. I want this to be a committee about how we do things, not how we can't do things, because we obviously have a lot of issues, but we have plenty of time right now, which is the positive thing. So just I'd like to look at our groundwater protection, make sure that we're going to be able to sustain our growth with wells, and that the citizens will be able to have potable water through wells. We also want to look at the various providers that we have and what their expansion capabilities are, what their financial needs might be to partner up, what the county could potentially do in the future to be able to help its citizens. We got a wastewater authority that has some fiscal ability if we decide to empower that. And we have a grant writer. We have opportunities there. A lot of other things are coming this way in this county. I think with I-24 site that's coming, there'll be something probably to help us with water and wastewater at some point, probably between here and there, but that is still conjecture. But if you look at other major sites like that have been developed around the state, usually a water, wastewater comprehensive package comes with those. And we also need to look at Normandy Dam. We're going to raise the level of that in the future. How's that going to impact other issues? So there's a whole host of things, pretty broad, we need to look at. But I think ultimately, let's look at how we're going to protect our citizens and how we're going to empower them in the future to have clean drinking water and either sanitary sewer, or make sure that the septic tanks that we have are going to be able to withstand where they are and what they're doing in the future. And we don't know what our population is going to be, but we've gained roughly 4,500 people in 4 years. So we've grown quite a bit. I don't think that's going to slow down. I don't think it's going to quantify necessarily either. So, but there is a lot of things we're going to be putting in the ground, taking out of the ground that we need to. And this committee, I don't envision it as coming up with the solutions by September. I think we come up with the 4 corners of our potential capabilities, maybe the best and more first, second, third options. Look at potential financing in the future. Look co-ops with other governments that have already done this, that maybe already have the engineering and the professionalism in place to do some things. There's a whole host of issues. So maybe we would break into two subcommittees, and one would do water, one would do wastewater, and then the two would cross-pollinate with a lot of issues. Maybe one would do existing infrastructure versus one new infrastructure and what it would cost and timelines for development. And so in September, and as we roll through the end of this year, we can begin to involve the full commission in some long-term plans. And this comes directly out of really some of the initial findings that strategic development had. This and, of course, the pay issue, which is being handled on another thing. So that's all I'd say is whoever would want to feel comfortable helping with that. And I'll help in any way. I've met a lot of people and been to a lot of entities to look at how they're operating, and everybody's been very cooperative about offering their help to us, either to come here or host us.
I got a question for you. And like from September, like you want a report back to the commission by mid-September. And so if you're wanting to meet 2 times a month, would it be counting just month meeting here, or would it be field trips too?
Leave it up to this group, and I don't want to meet to death, but I think there'll be enough to do. And you know, it may be we want to assign 2 people to go look at something, and not all of us, and come back and report. That may be much more efficient. And bring back documentation, bring back quotes, meet people to bring in for the meetings. But I think twice a month, this group should probably convene to be able to fully lay everything out and plan the next 2 weeks, and then, but I'm open to whatever.
I like the idea of subcommittees. I think it breaks it down where you can, specialize in 2 different ways with it myself.
So one would be water, one.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, maybe before we decide who does what, can we do a round robin? Because some of us don't know each other particularly well. And did try to bring in as much knowledge as we could, as broad a base as we could. And so, of course, I'll start. I'm Joe Matheny, the Coffee County Mayor. And I'll speak on behalf of David Nipper, who's not here. I'll call him, but he is the chairman of our Wastewater Authority, and he's done a good job wrestling that debt down, and built a very good relationship with TDEC. Built some confidence up with them. And probably in just a few short years, we'll probably have that fully amortized out. But there's a lot of a Wastewater Authority gives us a lot of potential. Of course, we need to modernize it and professionalize it. No offense to the people that are on it, but they're not full-time people. If we ever decide to fully utilize a Wastewater Authority, so I would recommend we keep it in place as long as we can. But
I am Tom Ballard. I am a consulting hydrogeologist, Southeast Hydrogeology, and water is what I do.
And you're from, kind of tell us geographic part of the county, and
I am from Beech Grove.
you got to kind of lean in.
Excuse me. I am from Beech Grove, and Coffee, and I've lived up there for going on 11 years now. So, well aware of the problems with war trace, and we hear about that all the time. I got experience all over the country working with water utilities and water and actually some wastewater too, but mainly water supply.
And you're a school board member.
And I'm on school board.
So we appreciate all your service, Tom.
Thank you.
I'm Randall Breaker. I'm the manager of the Duck River Utility Commission, which is your primary water supplier in the county. I'm an environmental engineer. I've been in the water production business for 50 years or so. As you know, the DRUC supplies Manchester and Tullahoma, and then Manchester supplies Hillsville Utility District, Tullahoma supplies Wartrace and Bell Buckle, and Metro Moore County and Flat Creek. And we also have a connection down to Winchester, what do they call that thing? Cascade Hollow?
Yeah.
Winchester Springs, Cascade Hollow, what do they call it? But we don't currently sell them water. But
Center Grove, I believe.
Center Grove.
I talked to that
that's
guy,
it.
yeah.
So the DRUC is currently capable of supplying 12 million gallons a day of water out of Normandy Reservoir. we generally run in the sixes, so there's plenty of room for expansion there. And of course, we'd like to see whatever expansion that's done is done in a way where we're supplying the water.
And you're also an elected constable.
I am. I'm the elected constable for Coffee County for districts 5, 8, and 9.
Thank you.
I'm Dwight Miller. I was in contracting for 20 years and did water and sewer, and moved to Tullahoma and went to work for Tullahoma Utilities, so I'm familiar with water and sewer from that side of it and the financing, et cetera. So that's why I wanted to be on.
Commissioner, how long have you been with, or how long were you with TUB and then TUA?
24 years.
So were you there when they built their new plant or right after?
What are you calling the new
Well,
plant?
the expansion where they had the lagoon and everything?
Yes. We've typically, about every 10 years, we had to do some kind of expansion.
Yep.
Big bucks. It's
And how
nature of sewer.
What is the capacity of that plant per day, roughly?
I don't know at this point.
Okay.
I don't know that I remember.
14
I've been
million?
gone, I've retired a little over 9 years ago.
Right.
So
So it's just curious and see what kind of headroom they might have.
the problem was typically the dumping into the small creek.
Yep. Yes, sir.
And that's always gonna be a problem for sewer.
Well, where we are geographically is always going to be an issue.
It
And
is, that's
Headwaters
what
are
I'm
the most
saying.
geologically diverse river in North America. Is never going to be easy.
Well, my name's Tim Morris. I'm the 5th District Commissioner, and I'm very passionate about getting the people into rural water and fire protection. Water first, but as we do that, I think as we plan, we need to make sure that we're running pipes big enough to where we don't have to dig them back up, that we can do fire protection also.
And I might add that Commissioner Morris has been very helpful in reaching out to all the providers here, and he's also been one of the leaders in the anticipated 105 exit project to get utilities out there, and that's something this committee could actually also look at as we move forward and with a can-do attitude.
I'm Terry Hirschman. I'm Commissioner in District 6 out in Hillsborough. My background's construction work. Done that pretty much all my life, out at the base, everywhere, pretty well everywhere. So, but I have a lot of background in water and sewer. So, yeah.
He knows the cost of putting it in the ground too right now, which is
Unfortunately, I do know that cost.
very important though to where this committee's headed.
My name's Jimmy Hollingsworth. I'm Commissioner for Manchester. I've served on HWR, which is our Health, Welfare, and Recreation Department. I'm in the fire service. I'm really interested in, like Tim, I agree with everything Tim said. I'm really interested in water into the rural areas. On the side, I've done a lot of contracting work, probably not near as much as Mr. Hirschman over here, but I put in a few tanks and a lot of field line, and I'm very familiar with the land, and I'm really interested in water absorption into our soils here. I'm a big proponent of sewer and, any way to, filter gray water out into the ground. So that's my interest in it.
My name is Marty Krantz. I'm a citizen. I've lived here for 7 years. Moved here from Nashville, spent 6 years in Nashville. Prior to that, I lived in Northern California, where I spent 38 years in water, wastewater, and stormwater and flood control. So, and a hazmat guy too, was then specializing in chlorine. I have a lot of experience in looking at the formation of a regional entity, Sacramento. If you can picture Sacramento on the map, it's halfway between Tahoe and San Francisco. It's a big city. It's like Nashville. And there are smaller towns, Folsom, where the prison is, Folsom and Isleton and West Sacramento. On the other side of the city from Sacramento is West Sacramento. It's kind of like here we have East Nashville. All these entities came together to pool their resources in a partnership, a legal partnership, to afford all of these changes and growth of the infrastructure. Otherwise, it was unaffordable for anybody, especially the smaller towns. It was absolutely unaffordable, and nowhere to go but up cost-wise. So You know, just spinning your wheels, kicking the can down the road just doesn't work. And they'd done that for a long time, and it was almost too late. And so I'd just like to suggest you might want to add a third subcommittee to water and wastewater, and that would be flood control and drainage issues. Because you're going to find that the environmental people from the state are going to be very, very interested in what happens to those kinds of water that runs off into the ditches and goes here, there, and elsewhere, infiltrates into the sewer system, a means of controlling that, and that has become a completely separate entity there, and I worked in all of them. And I'm not an engineer. I'm like the pilot of an aircraft. You know, the people make the airplane, I'm not that. You know, the people who service the airplane, I'm not that. I fly the airplane. That's what I did. I operated all these systems. And another thing to look at is the initiation of what's called a SCADA system, Supervisory Acquisition and Data Control. So it's a totally automated, there you can go to SCADA, Google SCADA, and it's a Denmark-based, the one we use, the Denmark-based engineering group, computers and stuff. We had a fully automated system. We had 149 pump stations as well, scattered with the wastewater plants and the water plants and the pump stations to push the sewer water from Folsom all the way down to Elk Grove, which was a long trip. And a lot of farmland at that time was utilized, made it easier to do the work. And the regional plant, now, I don't anticipate we're going to get gigantic, but Sacramento did. And you know how people, they move next to an airport and they say it's too noisy, do something about it, or I smell sewer gas, do something about it. Well, why did you move here? You know, oh, it's a floodplain. You know, my house floods all the time. Well, why did you move here? You should have known that. You know, so you're going to find the people complaining about odors and noises, and they're always going to be complainers. So to mitigate that, the regional authority, if you Google the Sacramento Regional Wastewater, you'll see all these, just a ton, a cascade of data. And it's really, really interesting, and it has lots of pictures too. So you'll like that. You'll learn a lot about that. And without that regional entity, they just couldn't work. It just wouldn't work out. And they had to just bite the bullet, and they got grants. You got a grant writer now. So you got to work the hell out of this grant writer to kind of find as much money as is humanly possible to get for these projects. You're going to need every penny. And that and things like project maps. Where's the growth going? I know it's coming up towards my house. It's coming up Highway 41 towards exit 105 from exit 110. Where are the pipes for that, you know? Where our water pressure for the hydrants where we live right now is already kind of low. And there's a 20-acre project behind my house that they've been grading the soil for 6 months now. They haven't built a thing. The bulldozers are going crazy all day, every day. And where's that drainage water going to go? It's going to go, some of it, to the Duck River. That needs to be looked at. They have no signage. They don't follow any rules. And so you got to deal with that. And I'd like to see a map of the proposed growth. Where's it going? It's going east, west, north, south?
I think that's part of the things that as soon as we elect a chairman, we'll begin to do that. And, you know, there'll be some things that obviously we're not going to be able to get to, but these are core things. And we need to write these core things down and decide how we're going to start tackling the due diligence associated with those.
Are there any current maps about
Yes, sir,
projected growth?
Well, not with projected growth of the county. Our county has not updated the map since 1996.
Oh, my.
But we do have the various utilities would have their maps and with their planned expansion. So the four water providers that we have, we'll be able to get those where they have pipes in the ground, where they intend to. But as far as our growth areas, we have nothing. But let's go ahead.
Let's go.
This is Mr. Nipper. So we're just doing the introductions now.
Sorry, guys, I was in Atlanta.
You're good. Oh, you made a trip.
Yikes.
I was in Atlanta at a business meeting, so I apologize for my tardiness. But my name is David Nipper. I currently chair the Waste Authority Board for the county. And then my daytime job is I am the director for Burger King for Middle Tennessee.
Wow.
So that's what I currently do.
Thank you for coming. We know you're super busy. And Commissioner Morris, back to you. Thank you for that, sir.
All right, so our plan is to do a chair, vice chair, secretary, and as we do that, think about if you want to be water side, sewer side, because I think it's very important. If we're gonna split apart, we may even have to have a leader for the two groups too. And I think 4 or 5 of us could go one way and 4 or 5 the other way to do the water and stuff.
With, I hate to interrupt, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
With that, there are 2 different departments of TDEC that cover both sides. There's a water department of TDEC and there's a sewer department of TDEC. So with that, you are contacting 2 different departments. The water department side of TDEC is out of Nashville, and the sewer side of department of TDEC is out of Columbia. So there are 2 different departments of TDEC, and you have to contact both. I've been in contact with both boards. Matter of fact, today, because somebody wanted to put a septic tank out on Wright Road today, and they contacted the wrong board, and the water guy contacted me today, and he was like, Mr. Nipper, who do we need to contact for this? And I said, you need to contact Gary Horn. He is actually over the sewer side. So that is a very good point.
Okay.
If you're going to go that route, it would be great to split that in 2 because you're dealing with 2 different people.
And Commissioner, it wouldn't be unheard of at all to have 2 vice chairs,
Yes.
first and second vice chair.
Well, what about this? What if we show a hands of who's interested in water and who's interested in sewer and fall that way? Is that good? If you're interested in water, there's 4 or 5 of us. If you're interested in sewer,
I'll stay with what I know.
Progress up pretty good.
3 against 5, I mean, is that,
We might could have one water guy maybe to throw over, maybe, if we wanted to.
I'll come with your meetings too, because the sewers, I mean, I wanna get sewer to the 105. That's a big thing for me, is that would be good for the rural people, to get sewer to the 105. I'll come
Well, I
both
think we
ways.
could have joint meetings.
Yes.
And then
But if y'all
split
need to
up
go,
as
yeah,
committees
if
to
y'all need to go
do-
someplace, I'd be happy to do that too, so.
And going outside to
Okay.
look at things.
So Dwight, Tim, Terry, Randall. Tom Ballard,
And then we'll still have,
David,
remember we got one guy absent today.
Tim and Terry, okay,
Maybe who knows where he was gonna go.
and Marty. And Jimmy. And we'll put, Joey with y'all right now.
That's a good idea.
That way we'll be tied up, and Terry and I flip-flop back and forth if that's all right with everybody. Okay, so, and within those things, we would need a chairman and then maybe a vice chair from each side, if that would be feasible for everybody.
Commissioner, on the water side, as far as the subcommittee, we're looking at yourself,
Dwight, Tim Morris, Terry, Randall, Breaker, and Mr. Ballard.
okay, and on wastewaters,
Wastewater is David Nipper, Terry and Tim, again, me and him working back in, Mr. Krantz, Jimmy Hollinsworth, and Joey Hobbs.
okay.
And I'm glad you brought that up about T-Deck both ways. All right, anybody want to nominate anybody for the chairman?
Are we gonna do one chairman for the whole committee, or are we gonna do 2 vice chairs? Is that what we're gonna do?
I think we should probably do one chairman, so the buck stops somewhere, and then 2 vice chairs.
I think that's right. I'm gonna nominate Tim Morris as chairman.
I'd second that.
Anybody else nominating? Any discussion on?
Anybody else interested?
Sounds like acclamation.
Okay, all those in favor by aye?
Aye.
I pass, okay. All right, vice chair for water, and that's Dwight, Tim, Terry Hirschman, Randall, and Mr. Ballard. And since Mr. Breaker, I know you and I know you've done a lot with the water and everything, I'm gonna nominate you to be the vice chair of the water if it's all right.
Would you accept it?
Yes.
Aye.
Or is that too much?
I guess I can do that.
We'll help you. Promise. But you probably know more than we'll ever forget.
Yes.
I make a motion to second that.
Anybody discussion or anything? All those in favor by aye.
Aye.
On the other side, I'll leave it up to the five of y'all, or the four of y'all. I know all of y'all have a lot of stuff, knowledge. Mr. Nipper's over the wastewater and out at there, and Mr. Krantz is from California, done that. And all I know is the septic tank stinks.
It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to.
Well,
No, it doesn't.
No.
well, that's when Benny Castile shows up.
Either one,
Everybody wants to
either
go
one of
do
you
it.
two, okay.
Okay. David says he'll do it. Is everybody okay with that? I'm very good with that. Okay. So I'm the chairman. Randall Breaker is the vice chair of the water. David Nipper is the vice chair of the sewer side.
Just for a minute, sir, who motioned and second on,
We didn't get a second on that.
I'll second that.
okay.
Okay.
just got it.
Marty, you seconded?
I did.
I made the motion.
He did.
I made the motion for Mr. Breaker.
Okay.
I'll make the motion for David too. He said he'd do it. I'll make the motion.
Marty seconded.
I got your second on the water one.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
All
pretty
those
strong
in favor,
framework.
yeah. All those in favor for David is aye.
Aye.
Okay, there we go. Next thing down is the plan of action, and I think that we've already sort of come up with a plan of action. I guess we ought to sort of figure out when we want to meet next before we get down to or before we quit and everything, but when we pick a meeting, we need to bring some stuff back.
Paul,
I mean,
sir,
when-
who's gonna be your secretary?
Oh, that's right. Secretary. Anybody want to volunteer to be the secretary? Mr. Hirschman?
The reason I ask is because for TDEC knowledge I don't know how to be on the water side, but part of the sewer side, it's a pretty big deal.
Okay,
When you report your minutes to them, they do take notes of your minutes, and they do keep pretty tight tracks of that, and I don't know how that'll work for this board. But I do know for our board, they do keep record of that, so whoever's taking those minutes, make sure whatever you want them to know, put in there. If you don't want them to know that, make sure it's not in your minutes.
okay.
Right, and there is a difference. Your committee's actionable and spending money
Right.
under regulations right now. We're going to be more of a recommendation and fact-finding
Gotcha.
committee, so probably a little bit more leeway at that point until we decide to empower something at some point in the future.
If you're here, will you take minutes? I nominate Mr. Terry Hirschman.
I second Mr. Terry Hirschman.
If there's any gaps, we'll watch the
Any
videos.
discussion?
Of course not.
All those in favor by aye.
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 All right, time-wise, is 5:30 good for everybody? Everybody's shaking their head. Any time difference for anybody? 5:30 is okay.
Typically good for me.
Okay, so 5:30. All right, today is the 27th. 2 weeks from today would get us into the week of the 10th.
Budget and finance has one.
One on what day?
They already have one on Wednesday.
On the 10th?
Yeah.
What about on the 11th?
You can.
The 9th and 11th with either one of those.
Okay,
Budget and finance also meeting on the 11th.
budget and finance still, all right.
Yes, sir, we're doing department head hearings back to
Would
back.
anybody have a problem with April the 9th as our first
Full
real-
commission meeting, sir.
Oh, okay, okay. How about we drop down to the 16th of April, which is a Tuesday?
I would have a conflict on that, but I can try to work. it out.
April
We
the
have budget and
17th.
finance on the 16th also.
April the 17th. Mr. Hollingsworth?
I'm good.
That works for me.
That gives us, we do quite a bit of work between now and then.
I'll take minutes. All right.
We're talking about the 17th. Did we settle on something?
Yes,
That's telling Danny, you know how.
you gonna be gone on Wednesday?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I guess if the full committee is going to meet on the 17th, the subcommittees could still meet in the meantime,
Yes,
up to the discretion of the vice chair
Okay.
to plow some things forward.
yes.
So
All right, so we're gonna meet on the 17th at 5:30. That's on a Wednesday. And what I would like to have on that date, I would like to see if we can get the TDEC guy, water guy down here, and see if he can set us guidelines. And also the one that the mayor mentioned, the Tennessee Association of Utility Districts, to give us some guidelines on, can we remove, or can a entity give up part of their boundary, their water lines, if they're not keeping them up? If they're willing to give them up, is that legal?
we can probably find that out very quickly.
Okay,
Now
so
the-
if we had TDEC here to explain to us stuff on the water and I don't guess the sewer, you could do both of them at the same time. But if we had TDEC here and we have an answer on the water by then,
I can get that answer on the
okay.
water.
If we have the water answer, and if it would be appropriate with you guys, if the answer is yes, they can give it up, I'm gonna start talking to War Trace and see if they're going to up their ante in Beech Grove, or if they're just willing to just sit on it, because those people need to be taken care of too.
Then, Mr. Chairman, we may want to bring in I don't know if you want the subcommittees on water to interview the 4 providers.
Okay.
And then they can report, they can do that between now and the 17th to find out, to get the maps, service areas, financial restrictions, planned growth, and bring those back to report on the 17th to everybody.
Yes, I'd like to have the maps of the sewer and the water each, and that way everybody can see where we stand. And even and I don't think there are any proposed new water lines except maybe on J.E. Sarton Road in the north end of the county. That's gonna be talked about tomorrow night. But as far as anybody else adding anything, I don't think anything's in the works right now. But if we could have the water lines mapped and designated who they are, and Tullahoma and Manchester Sewer out, and that way everybody can see where we're at right now and where we need to go.
There may be also a pricing on this.
Yeah, price per foot
Yeah.
of 6-inch and 4-inch.
So you want TDEC down here, the water guy?
Yes.
I can handle that. I know
Okay.
them really well.
I would like
So,
for,
yeah.
if they can come on the 17th and speak to us about how they feel about our water and
Sure.
what we need to move forward with, that would be a good recommendation from them. And if they have any kind of knowledge of, like he said, bringing other people together, cities, and Mr. Krantz did. You talked about in California how the communities came together.
Yes, they
How to work together with
They
other
sure did. They had
communities.
a lot of meetings and they work it all
Yeah.
out, and it's grown like a weed, and it's working beautifully.
Because we're all Coffee County. And if we work together, we're Coffee County strong.
You got to have that regional mentality for
Okay.
it to work, really.
Mr. Chairman,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask maybe Mr. Breaker to chime in about some basic building blocks to get from where we are today to where we are on the 17th.
Yeah,
If we,
I was wondering if you'd expound on what you're wanting the TDEC guy to tell you.
To explain to us, I guess, about the needs of future water, like tanks, how he sees our water. Each one of these entities is gonna need something from the rural people. And maybe he's not the right person. Maybe we need to ask each entity what they foresee.
Yeah, I don't know that TDEC
Pe-
has a
people-
lot of
okay.
opinions
Okay.
about this issue. I don't know what they will give each entity an opinion of what their growth issues are and but I don't know that
Okay.
will bring a lot to the meeting. I think each individual utility, about 10 years ago, I had Scott St. John build me a map of the entire county's water lines, and it's out of date now, 10 years old. But we might be able to get that updated
Okay.
and get each entity that has water lines in the county to provide the newest maps and see how much it would take to get St. John to rebuild it, so we'd have a single map to work off of.
Okay.
I can contact each of the utilities and get their representative here at a meeting.
Okay.
Or we can get the subcommittee to meet with them about their expansion plans and their concerns. The new guy in Wartrace only been there for
Yes.
a couple of months, so.
He took Philip
he's-
Miller's spot.
Yeah, he took Phil's place, and his name's Jeremy Garrett. He's pretty competent individual. It's just, he's only been there a
Yes.
month or two, and he's got his hands full with all the problems they have over there. Of
And
course,
it'll be the same way for Manchester, who takes Philip's spot.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen there,
So no TDEC then?
but, yeah, I don't know that brings a lot to the table. Go ahead.
Maybe, Mr. Chairman, maybe we should queue up all the TDEC questions and knock them out at one big time, maybe fourth month in or something, rather than bring them in constantly. But I think maybe with the subcommittee, if you could meet with all four of the providers and get up-to-date maps so we can make one official Coffee County map for this group. And even though, keep in mind, the entire subcommittee doesn't have to go do this. One person can actually go visit with them, which Commissioner Morris and I have done in the past, and get their maps and talk to them and then report back to us. So you could very well, you got 4 members on the subcommittee, each person could go do one. And if there's a problem, somebody go back them up, to get a little additional help. And same thing with wastewater. We could look at, various future permitting for septic. As Commissioner Hollingsworth said, there's a lot of soil issues here that, we want to geographically see what kind of soil we have. At the same time, you've got the well issue. Where are our wells going dry? Where are people digging and they're not finding any water? There's got to be some type of reasoning to all that's being seen. And so start breaking these things down into the micro components. And when we get back together on the 17th, we can bring all that data together and decide where do we see a red flag that we really need to dig in a little deeper, a true problem. Where do we see somewhere that's going to be okay for a while, and we can move on past it and put our efforts somewhere else. And this strategy will probably be evolving as we move forward. But I would think maybe bring the state officials in or any federal officials. Let's wait and try to maybe knock that out in a fell swoop.
Mr. Chairman, are you going to try to coordinate this on who goes where, when we have individuals going to wherever, or is it going to go through you?
I
I'm
will
sure.
touch back and forth with David and Randall and see who they want to, and us talk. And maybe each one of us break off and have a quick 20-minute meeting some afternoon that we can all get together. I mean, the four and I'll come to both meetings, try to come to both meetings and just see, if we could do that maybe next week. I mean, I don't foresee it to take more than 20 minutes to set up what we need to do and us go do our things and then come back and do that if that's all right with everybody.
Sorry to keep talking, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask that everybody, let's build an email list and everybody copy each other on every email. Some of us are going to want to read more than others, but that's going to give us a consistent record, and everybody's going to be able to have access to the same information at the same time. Even if you're on water, let's be able to look at the wastewater's notes and plans, and so we know what's going on. And then if you'll, and that way I can kind of keep a understanding of it too. Anything we can do out of the mayor's office to facilitate anything, just ask. And as I meet with other individuals, I'm going to refer them respectively to the various vice chairs to follow up. Might be somebody you want to come in for testimony. Maybe just want to send somebody to interview somebody, or just send them a list of questions and they can send email responses back, and we can work a lot faster and smarter maybe than so many meetings sometimes.
I know you two have already met with the entities already, some on supplying water and service. Would they come?
Yeah, they'll
yes,
come.
for sure.
Mhm. Yes,
Absolutely.
they will come.
They've offered
Mhm.
to many times over.
Yes. Also on those emails, if you don't mind giving out your cell phone number, I'm gonna start putting mine on there. I carry two. I'm better at phones than emails. I get inundated with them at school, and doing two emails now is really catching up with me. So I'll put both my cell phone numbers on there, and more than welcome to call me anytime. They're both on until I go to sleep. In fact, they stay on all the time.
Mine
So.
too. I'm quicker at
Okay,
I'm quicker at a text message than a
Okay.
Our emails, are we gonna use our?
County email,
county
the
email?
government emails.
I would say whichever one we need to use our government.
Yes.
Because everything we're doing is going to be public record. whichever the other gentleman, whichever one you choose to have this go through. If you want to create one just for this is fine. Either, however you want to do it, but if we can get all those together.
Okay. Did everybody receive mine? I think they did from Tim on the government one. Okay. All right. All right, so April the 17th, 5:30.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Okay, one more. Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask either Commissioner Miller or Mr. Cramps, with your wastewater experience, other additional building blocks between now and the 17th that we need to go after,
Regulatory agencies.
which is TDEC.
Well, there's a thing called the NPDES. Who does that around here?
TDEC.
They do that?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't know about here, I'm sure it's a lot more comfortable here in this state, but in California, they regulate every fart and burp. And they're down your neck. I got visited at the treatment plants constantly by inspectors.
I have an independent soul, like for our plant here, for our step system, I have an independent guy who does our soil testing. And that way when TDEC comes around every 6 months, we're good. We pay him to do it every month so that we stay ahead of TDEC. So we have an independent soil tester.
So regulatory agencies, obviously, we can make a list of those, where they fall under what particular spectrum. But any other homework, I guess, you guys will come up with that can be done between now and the 17th. And just want to make sure we're knocking out as many things as possible.
Yep.
Commissioner Miller, do you have?
I'm just wondering, the only two sewer plants I know of is Manchester and Tullahoma, so are we thinking maybe a county plant?
I have no idea. I mean, Rutherford County created a consolidated utility district and operated a bunch of step systems. As they continue to grow, they put, my understanding is they put the grids in line with the developers, grids in place, so when the sewer did come one day, they just hooked right to it. So they had that kind of foresight, so they didn't go back and tear neighborhoods up. But right now, it is Manchester and Tullahoma, it's their respective service areas. As we know, Manchester has some challenges right now.
I'm not real sure where you would empty into,
Well, these are all things.
if you're a county type thing.
Correct. Well, if it's a step or drip system, we'd have to have 50 acres or so for a station, and then 500 homes could grid into that. But at some point down the road, 20 years from now, a main sewer line may go within shot of that neighborhood. We want to just be able to tee right
Sure.
into it already to a grid that hopefully the developers have already helped us put in the ground. This is just conjecture, thinking big, but that's the kind of thinking that we'll need to be doing.
Have you seen
That's
what a
exactly
step
right.
system looks like,
Yeah. Oh,
sir?
Which one are you talking about?
Have you seen what a step system looks like?
No, I have not.
So maybe I can take you guys out and show you what a step system looks like in a community. We have one at Wayside, and show you what the field actually looks like, and because we're in the middle of redoing it, and how much space that actually takes up, and show you what we're actually looking at as far as the step system goes. So if we were to place one, say North Coffee, say Hillsboro, out towards Summitville, that area, and put a step system in those neighborhoods in that area, you would see kind of the size and what that would acquire. And ours does about 120 homes.
And also, David, if it works at Wayside, it'll work just about anybody, right?
And it's a revenue generator.
Yes.
It's not a net loss.
and Deerfield Elementary School is on the step,
Yes, Deerfield is on the
Yes.
step as well, yes, sir.
and that's because of the soil.
That's essentially just Mother Nature, right? Are you doing any disinfecting?
We do cleanouts, but not very much. We keep the filters changed, and that's pretty much it. It is basically.
Huge septic system. It's
But it's like a septic tank is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
All you have to do is make it happy,
it, yeah.
massage it, make it feel good, and it'll last forever.
But that comes again with Mr. Ballard's expertise. How many septic systems can we have and still have good wells in this
Yes.
county in the future?
We're next to the creek, yeah.
next to the
we
creek,
see all
so
the time.
You're not regulating any private wells.
We have no intention to. I mean,
How many public wells are involved in this area that we're?
Thousands.
No public wells, just private.
Yeah,
private wells,
Okay.
but at some point,
thousands
there's going to be maybe too many, or
Yeah, they gotta
not-
live together.
Or, yeah, and there's just going to need to be some kind of rationale to what's being laid out.
There are very few good private wells in the county.
Really? You know, you can make
No,
well
it's
water
all-
beautiful with just either ozone or UV.
It's because
Yeah, and it
Because
just
TDEC
it renders
has-
the bugs impossible to thrive. They die, and then no more bugs.
We have a pretty robust UV light sales program at cost at the RUC, and we've been selling hundreds a year. Problem is, everybody's well's bad.
Wow.
Pretty much
I
everybody. You can talk about the geology in the area, but it's.
Yeah, we'll.
it comes down to TDEC's well requirements. They don't have good seals, and they get surface water in there. It's really what it comes down to, so.
wow.
We're blessed to have this kind of talent and it's stable. We really are for where we're headed. So thank you all for volunteering.
May I
It's a-
suggest one thing to think about, start thinking about, and that's nobody ever talks about this, but every wastewater treatment plant in America of any size has got this booger to deal with, and that is medicines. People are on medicines, prescription and otherwise, like there's never been before. And it goes down the toilet and down the sinks, and it goes and it leaves. That stuff goes right through most all treatment processes and into the river. And then, you know, on your pill bottle it says, don't take this pill with this pill because then you'll have a seizure or blood will run out of your ears or something, you know. You have these interactions, drug interactions, right? We don't know what the interactions of drugs in the water. Now the water plant's picking up this water. Sewer plant's putting it in the river. Water plant, 20 miles away downriver is picking this water up. It's going into their system. It's not getting treated there either. It's going into your drinking water. And nobody knows how much of it there is and how bad it is, or they don't know anything about it. I went to extensive meetings at Kennedy Engineering in Sacramento right before I retired 13 years ago. I retired 13 years ago. And they were the first to admit that it's a big problem and nobody knows anything about it. Studies did not exist at that time, 13 years ago. But that's going to
It
come to bite
is,
you.
it is, but I think this committee will find that, we're going to kind of have to reverse engineer what we can handle, starting with what's coming out of the faucet in Crawford County homes, and then how we're going to make it the best it can be, and it's going to be tough to solve a lot of the macro problems.
It's
But
all about cost.
It is, and these are
RO.
things I'm sure we'll start,
And RO filters will remove them.
Membrane filtration and granular carbon contactors.
That's really good.
So we pretty much get all that.
and it has had for how many years now?
Yeah, 20 years.
You're one of the first.
That's really good.
Yeah.
2003.
Yeah.
So all the water systems in the county are on surface water, right? So there's no
Yes.
groundwater wells. I think Arnold has some though, but we're not dealing
Well,
with that.
not drinking water wells. I
Yeah.
don't know if they have any other wells for any other purpose, but they
Yeah.
get their drinking water out of woods.
Okay, got it.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
From how far back?
April the 17th, 5:30. Vice chairman's, I'll talk with y'all tomorrow or the day after, and we'll get split apart and take off and see what we can do in 2.5 weeks. I very much appreciate all y'all.
Thank you,
This-
Mr. Chairman. You
this-
great job pulling together.
Growth,
Yeah, it's a
the
hard
growth
job.
of this county. So make sure you turn your speakers off.
I would love to see it. I would love to. And when you do back flushing, where does
Second
that go?
motion?
NPDES permit goes back in the lake,
Back in the lake.
but the carbon doesn't. If it absorbs any of those pharmaceuticals, it goes into the land.
And this one is still
A landfill.
Or it gets recharged.